We're here. We are according to
Jama
and Nikki.
And we have a very special guest today.
We do. And we cannot wait to introduce her to our show, where we are a podcast, two best friends who are making timeless connections. We talk business, community, relationships, and everything in between, the wins, the lessons, and the moments that keep us connected. And today we're talking about women's fertility, and also men's fertility will probably come up because we're talking about family planning.
Yeah.
And
that's the ultimate connection.
Exactly. So we will see what comes up.
So today we are joined by an award-winning nurse, Shannon Vitale, from OSF HealthCare. She's a registered nurse, or an RN, for those in the know. She is a fertility care practitioner, as we said, at St. Anthony's, part of the OSF HealthCare family. And she's joining us to answer all of our burning questions from ourselves and from our friends. And just get us to know our bodies better and help us understand each other and ourselves so we can be better.
Healthier.
Yeah. Just be better people. I love it.
Yeah.
Welcome, Shannon. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
So we do want to do a quick content disclaimer that this episode's discussion, as Nikki mentioned, centers on female and male reproductive systems, including scientific terminology, anatomy, for those who've taken a biology class. These are basic words, but they will likely get us flagged by the profanity filters, which seems counterintuitive. We know that, and it is exactly why we're going to continue to have these conversations and keep this dialogue going. So please note that this is for educational purposes only and not a substitute for professional medical advice. So you should consult your own healthcare provider. And if you're looking for one,
there's
Shannon here.
And there's St. Anthony's.
Absolutely.
Yes, I just teach the education part. There are practitioners or doctors who work with this program. But we'll get more into that as you guys ask me your questions or we just converse.
Okay, I love it. Nikki, you want to start? You got a question?
So, Shannon, tell us about your program.
Okay.
Or, well, the program that I call it your program because I know you're connected to me. You fed me so much information.
She quotes you frequently.
And maybe I'll start there, how we met, because we like to talk about how we're connected.
Yes.
Okay. And many moons ago, I think it was 2018, 2019, somewhere in that, I went to the Growth Association's Lead Hership. So
That's
for all of you out there, the Lead Hership that Growth Association puts on really connects you to some amazing people. I have made two profound connections from the years that I've gone twice. That's the two. And so with that being said, I met Shannon, and I remember going to your table and you said to me, I said, well, what do you do? And you're like, fertility. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not into that because I wasn't, I'm single, no kids, fertility. I don't need that. And then you stopped me and said, do you remember what you said?
No.
You said, no, the fertility is your whole system. Like, how is your cycle?
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, now that you mention it, I noticed some issues.
Right.
I was having some... Well, just full how in depth do I go about like my private health
issues?
I had some issues,
some concerns.
There was something that seemed off because I had changed. Like and now I think I was in my 30s and my cycle had changed from when I was in my 20s, right? And I wasn't sure if it was cancer or what, because what I was experiencing was different than what I was used to. And when you said that, I said, oh, well, you know what? Yeah. And so then you started introducing to me what you do.
Right. Well, I think that's a good segue. That's a good starting point because I think that the basic point there is that do we understand our cycles, our menstrual cycle? And our menstrual cycle isn't just our period. I know that's what people think it is, but it's from the beginning of menstruation all the way up to the last day before the next menstrual cycle. And what's normal?
It's literally all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And then it starts over again.
And then it starts over again. Exactly. And what's normal?
That's my first question for you.
Yes. What is normal? Because,
is normal?
Now I'm way older than you girls. And when I would go have a physical and they would ask, well, how's your cycle? Good, I guess. I mean, What do you mean, how's my cycle? Do I menstruate? Yeah. But I didn't know whether it was normal or not normal or what the parameters was. It. And what I found is I think a lot of women don't.
Well,
What's normal
we don't
from
talk
them.
about it to know what normal is,
right.
or what our friends are even going through, or what our parents and our grandparents would never talk about it.
Right. It was not something that was discussed. And even when you go to your gynecologists, they don't really delve into what's
not
normal
unless
for you.
Ask.
But you don't know which questions to ask. That's the problem. And so when I was learning this program, I was amazed, first of all, because I was not young. I'd worked in OB. I have my own family. I've given birth. And still, I learned things that amazed me. I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I not realize this?
Right.
How come nobody ever taught this to me? This is something everybody should know, not just girls who are starting their menstrual cycle, or moms or women or couples. Men need to understand this too, because when we talk about a couple's fertility, we're talking about the man's and women's fertility together. Now, while it does mirror the women's cycle because her hormones ebb and flow so much, but as a couple, your fertility window is when the woman is fertile. That's why we work so closely with the women, but there are parts of it that they do check out for men too, just in case it's a male issue, right?
And
Or
fathers
both,
with daughters.
Yeah.
So
oh
that
my
they
gosh.
can feel so much more comfortable. That's one of my questions too. Like, I feel like we still carry this stigma, this embarrassment, this, like we don't want to talk about this. And I feel like that is one thing with social media and the internet that has helped. I feel like opening these conversations, that it's okay to have these conversations. We should be having these conversations.
And I think in some ways I was fortunate because my mother is a nurse.
Yeah.
So bodily functions and things weren't faux pas so much, but we didn't go into a lot of detail. But I could always rely on mom or dad bringing me something if I didn't have what I needed.
Right.
And there was no embarrassment or conversation. Did it show up in a brown paper lunch bag? Yes, but that was also
that was discretion.
That was discretion. That was discretion. Right. Yes, that was discretion. But it wasn't. I never felt uncomfortable to ask my parents for help with that.
Right.
And I think it's because I was raised. But again, there was limited experience, limited conversation, and what do you ask?
Of everything in between.
It's the same way when walking through menopause. We don't have any benchmark for that.
Perimenopause, which I feel like is
brand new.
Right.
Just happened.
Which obviously is not brand new.
No.
But feels like.
Brand new word.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It might be brand new for you.
Yes. Yes.
But not so much. It's been around for a very, very long time. And that's another area that Creighton Model addresses too. So our cycles do change throughout our life. So what is normal and how do you find out what's normal? And the best way to do that is to really chart. And I want to just, the Creighton Model, I love the Creighton Model. It is a mucus awareness method. Any mucus awareness method is very valid. I want you to know that because it can tell you when you're fertile and you're not fertile. What I love about the Creighton Model is it has a medical component to it, which is the NaProTechnology. And that's where there's doctors who've taken extra education to look at a woman's cycle and determine if there's an issue with it. And then the goal is to bring her up to health because it's about your woman's health. Why are we suppressing women's fertility? Why are we suppressing any issues? And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of women who have issues with their menstrual cycle, heavy bleeding or really severe pain or what have you, instead of looking at what's causing that, they're given the choice of being on the birth control pill, which suppresses the issue, right? And so you're not feeling those symptoms. But is it addressing the issue? It doesn't. And so then when that woman is ready to get married, have her family, and she goes off the birth control pill, guess what? That issue is still there. And now we have to correct.
And maybe some new ones.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it hasn't gone away.
Right.
It maybe has gotten worse. So, and I'm not laying blame. Doctors only know what they're taught. And this is what they're taught in medical school. This is the go-to solution. Right.
And only as good as the data we have and research.
At the time,
and
right.
We know for up until this point, we do not have great research when it comes to women's health.
No, we don't.
And
the medical model is based on the male. Right. And the reason being is because women's hormones go up and
crazy.
down. They are. They're very hard to study. But we also know that it's important that we do study it because women present differently. Think about heart attacks.
Everything.
And, women have... their diagnoses have been missed because we don't present like men. And I believe that the medical...
it's getting better.
Yes.
I have hope.
Oh, yeah. No, because they're starting to recognize that. And they're starting to study that and understand what's going on. But I do think it's an amazing how the human body works, right? Mm-hmm. How we were designed, what a gift our fertility is, which I know that sounds maybe counterintuitive to women who don't like having their cycles because it's...
Well, they're not always fun.
They're not always fun.
It's kind of like a drag.
It is. It is.
Well, and like we had just mentioned today to each other, like it's almost like similar to childbirth, like your brain protects you. So
you forget.
You forget, and then the month later, you're like, why do I hate everything? And I'm so hungry.
I want to shave my head, like cut my hair, my bangs are bothering me.
That's right.
It's hormones.
And sometimes it's not until someone points it out, like, are you going to start? It's like, oh, maybe.
Good old PMS. Welcome back.
Thank you for throwing it in my face. But yes.
But it is really interesting, even us talking with our friends about how everyone is so unique in terms of how long their cycles last.
Right.
And
what's the normal length?
There you go.
Is it supposed to be every 28 days? Well, actually, it's regularly irregular. Okay. But an irregular cycle is one in which you don't menstruate, say, for like 45, 60, 90 days. That's irregular. But to have a cycle somewhere like 24 to 35 days, even 38 days is normal. It's just stress can affect your cycle, right?
So many things.
So many things can affect, yeah. So there's a lot that goes into it. But the nice thing about the Creighton Model or tracking your cycles is you can kind of determine when your menstrual period is going to come a few weeks before, somewhere between 9 and 17 days, actually.
Well, and
that's a pretty good window.
Yeah. But for you, it would be plus or minus 1 day.
Oh, right.
I mean, if you were tracking, we should be able to tell with how many days, plus or minus a day, cycle after cycle after cycle. And that's which you're like, well, why would I want to know that? Well, maybe you want to make sure you have your menstrual supplies, right?
Sure.
Or
it could be that simple.
It could be that simple.
Or delay that vacation by 2 days.
Right. Planning life around.
Planning life, yeah.
Well, and then, so to come back to the normal, the one thing you said to me when we were going through this was, but it wasn't normal for you. Because when I would go to the doctor, they would say, well, that's normal. And I'm like,
I'm feeling this.
But it doesn't feel normal. And so they're like, well, we could do birth control, which I had been in that cycle before, and I know my body on that pill, and I did not like the way that I felt, and it was very uncomfortable.
Same. And did you try multiple types too? With the different estrogen levels? And
the lowest, I was always on the lowest, which the lowest was still not low enough because it turned out I had more of estrogen than I do progesterone. So I was still, if I would have gone that route, it would have continued to throw me out and throw me out and throw me out. And again, it goes back to, well, that's normal. But it's not normal for me. And that's where the tracking came in, because you get your normal baseline, because you're only tracking you, you're comparing yourself to you.
Right.
And then you learn what's normal for you and your body, and where you can find, okay, now we see why you're having this problem. And it was when my progesterone dips.
Yep.
And it was supposed to happen when my progesterone was supposed to be high, but I didn't have enough. So I was noticing issues during that change in estrogen to progesterone.
Which is actually, that change happens when you ovulate.
And that is where I was noticing
when you ovulate, that's when your progesterone should rise. Mm-hmm. And that it's interesting that a lot of studies, so this probably isn't going to make sense to anybody because I feel like we're all over the place here. When you start to...
That's how our brains are.
I know. Okay, good.
It's just a
so at the beginning
of
your cycle, both your hormones, estrogen and progesterone levels are both kind of low. But as the ovary chooses a follicle to bring to maturity, as it's growing, the estrogen level is increasing in your body, which is producing certain effects, okay? First thing is going to start thickening up the uterine lining. Okay. The second thing is going to stimulate your cervical crypts, which are little caves within your cervix. I know it sounds really
caves.
I know, little caves, all kinds of little caves in there.
Yes. You got a picture?
She probably does.
Sure.
To produce this mucus. Okay. And once that the estrogen peaks, it hits its high point, and that follicle is mature, the estrogen will drop, and then the egg should be released. Now, when the egg gets released, that point on the ovary which it was attached to is called the corpus luteum. and it starts to stimulate the production of progesterone. Now, estrogen and progesterone are always there together all the time. It's just who's dominant.
Different levels.
Yes. Okay. And so after that egg gets released, that progesterone level jumps up. And it should stay high somewhere for 9 to 17 days. Now, for the whole population of women, for any single woman, it's plus or minus a day. It's a very tight window. It should be a very tight window. Right. So as you're charting and recording your observations, you can start to see where that changes. You can see what's happening, and you can see what's happening in the post-peak phase after you've ovulated. And there should be a certain number of days. And if it isn't long enough, we can tell, or if you start spotting before you have your menstrual period, we can be fairly confident that there's a hormone problem. So if you have really bad PMS, it really is a hormone problem, right? And we need to do that. There's your cervical.
There's the caves.
Those are little crypts in there. Biological valve.
Nikki's going to bring them up to the camera so everyone can see. It's like an actual health class.
Yeah, it really is.
We're learning.
Yes, it is amazing that that's where our mucus comes from, and it's designed for us. So, first of all, women, if you've ever noticed mucus coming from your vagina, that's normal, right? Now, if it has a poor smell, that probably isn't normal. But
or color.
Strange color.
Yes.
But that is our body
Consult
telling
your
us.
yes.
And this is why it's so important.
It can be cloudy. It can be yellow. It can be brown. It can be red. It can be clear. If it's ever green, that's not normal. Not a good thing, right? Green is not a good color.
Well, and that was what was interesting in me learning this, because like you said, in school, they focused on the bleeding part of it. They focused on that, but you didn't hear anything about discharge or mucus. And that's really important.
It's very important.
And so you had no idea that, again, had I known, I would have known just by the lack of what I saw that I had a progesterone problem. Right. And so it was just really interesting, that whole experience, and then I felt for the first time, I know this sounds so funny, whole. Because I felt like I fully understood and grasped this whole cycle that my body was doing. And there was an appreciation for it instead of a burden and an annoyance. Because again, when you don't have children and you've never done that, you think, well, why do I still need to do that? And I actually have had a doctor tell me that I could just go ahead and remove my ovaries since I'm not having children, and that would save all of my problems.
Oh, no.
That was just about 3 years ago that a doctor suggested that to me. And that hurt, because I'm like, but I'm healthy. Why would I take out a healthy thing just to avoid that, Yeah. And it was an interesting way of even thinking that would be because our ovaries regulate so much of our bodies.
They do, our hormones.
And to lose that, just so I wouldn't have, the inconvenience or the uncomfort or just the challenge of walking through, because again, part of tracking is I had to take progesterone at a certain time. So it was like ovulation day +3. So I would see when I ovulated, and then I would have to take the progesterone and start it at 3 days. And so that's another thing that they don't always encourage or tell us. It's important on when you take the hormone.
Right.
It's not just take it. It's important on what time.
Yeah. Well, where you are in your cycle.
And where you are in your cycle. And that makes all the difference. I remember when I first, my sleep got better. I was a little more relaxed. Mm-hmm. There was so much. And then I could get on a good sleep schedule. And then I realized sleep is a big part as to why I was having some of these issues.
Right. Well, at the beginning of your cycle, as that follicle is growing, and you're producing estrogen, that's when you have all this energy. You're quick of thought. You can
the world.
Yeah, you can multitask.
Like Superwoman. You're like, I'm going to do everything right now.
And then when you ovulate, all of a sudden you lack this energy.
Exhausted.
And you're like, I'm overwhelmed. And really listen to your body, because your body's telling you, pull back. Okay? Don't schedule as many appointments. Take care of yourself. Instead of doing cardio, do some stretches and relaxation.
Sleep and eat. That's all I want to do. Sleep and eat. That's literally all I want to do.
Nurture yourself. That's the period of time you should be nurturing yourself. And you are more tired, right? And then the next cycle starts. And it's interesting that we have this ebb and flow. And that's because of the hormones. And now those hormones speak to the other hormones in our body, right? That's what's so fascinating about this. Because if your hormones are out of balance, well, so are your other hormones. And, I feel like it becomes a snowball effect that women, nobody's addressed it, so it's gone on for a long time. And And now how do I get a hold of this? How can now what do I do? Well, start by learning your body and learning your cycle. Learn how to chart,
Absolutely.
And then from there, if you have a practitioner like myself, not that I have to be everybody's practitioner, but we should be able to put you in touch with a doctor who can then treat whatever your underlying cause is.
I remember when I first learned that women have testosterone.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, no, what? That's for men. I didn't realize that
we have that
as well.
Yeah, just not in the same balance as men.
Quantities,
Yes,
yes.
as men have.
Until we get a little bit older, I think it kicks
And again,
back up
normally,
in the
right? Because again, we all have different
And that
levels.
could be, you might have more testosterone and there's the imbalance.
Right.
Because
of the other things that are out of balance. So this one becomes dominant. Yeah. All plays together. And I am not the doctor, so I'm not exactly sure how they all play together. So my job is just to teach you how to do that, how to make observations, how to chart it, so that you can understand your cycle. So my whole job, which I love, is education.
Yeah.
Right? I get to work with women, teach them how to make observations, and then teach them how to interpret their chart. So they know if I'm fertile or when I'm not fertile. And that's a whole nother aspect of this, the Creighton Model. Right? So we've talked about that. We jumped way ahead of ourselves.
We did.
We went to the medical
We got
side.
excited.
We did. And because it started with a story. It started because, again, my whole purpose was a medical purpose.
Right.
I wasn't seeking pregnancy. I was trying to figure out if I was healthy.
Right.
And so that's our fertility, because that's the thing I learned. My body will tell me, and I get to listen, and I was taught how to listen to it well, to know what my body was telling me, because that's how our bodies are designed. And I think
God
that's
created
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, if you recognize the beauty of the human body, seriously, and the design for women and men, he gave us everything that we need to know, right? We just
have to listen.
We just have to listen. And somebody has to teach it to us or show us it. And I'm sure at some point somebody did already know this. Don't know who it was, but probably.
But we lost it somewhere.
We lost it somewhere along the line,
Right.
Because it is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it really is.
It really is to understand what your body's doing each cycle and how your body is created, and everything that your body does has a purpose. And how do you learn about that? When should you learn about that?
That is another
That was one
question.
of my questions
Yeah.
too, which I would love to get to as soon as we come back. We're going to take a really quick break so we can all get a little drink of water.
And play our lovely
Yes.
commercials that help keep us here to provide this information to you.
And if you're interested in sponsoring our show, we are always looking for new guests and for new support, and we welcome that. So please reach out. We will be right back.
Firearms
Okay, I look
training
like a
shouldn't feel
helmet head on this.
intimidating. At Precision Point Armory in Bethalto, we focus on safety, confidence, and real-world skills. Whether you're new or renewing your concealed carry, you'll get professional instruction without pressure. Learn safe handling, sound decision-making, and proper techniques tailored to your experience level. If you're looking for premium firearms training in the heart of Bethalto, Illinois, call 618-779-9947 or go to precisionpointarmory.net and train with confidence today.
Struggling with depression that just won't go away? At Precision TMS, we offer a non-invasive, drug-free treatment designed to target the areas of the brain linked to mood regulation. Using FDA-cleared transcranial magnetic stimulation, gentle magnetic pulses help reactivate underperforming brain circuits without surgery or sedation. Many patients experience real relief, even after other treatments haven't worked. Our experienced team provides personalized care every step of the way. Contact Precision TMS today to see if TMS therapy is right for you.
Accidents happen in a heartbeat, but lives change forever. Whether it's a car crash, workplace injury, medical malpractice, or wrongful death, you don't have to face the consequences alone. Keith Short and Associates brings over 33 years of experience and a reputation for fighting fiercely for your rights. For relentless representation that you can trust, call Keith Short and Associates at 618-254-0055 today for a free consultation.
What's up? It's Mike Keith. What's up, bro? Back to spotlight other amazing alumni and how they discovered their path at Lewis and Clark. Let's jump into it. This is Tom Wells. and assistant chief of the Godfrey Fire District. He has been a firefighter and an EMT for over 20 years. Tom is currently an instructor in the Lewis and Clark Paramedicine program and has 2 degrees from LC, fire science and nursing.
I'm Tom Wills, and I'm a trailblazer.
And we're back talking about our bodies and our minds and hormones and learning.
All right.
With Shannon Vitale.
And representative of St. Anthony's Medical Center. And I guess the question on the table is, when do we start learning this?
Right.
All right. So the Creighton Model, first of all, is it truly is a method of natural family planning, but has other aspects. And it talks about a woman's cycle. So when should a young girl learn about it? She should be introduced to how her body works somewhere between 9 and 13 before she has her first menstrual period. Right. Is an important time. And I know that that can be awkward for parents to talk about. In the past, we've done a couple of mother-daughter teas. It's been a couple years. I still want to do one. I just have to have the energy to do it. I've got friends who are willing to help do it. It's a proper tea. I mean, we have tea and little sandwiches and a presentation, and I talk about the medical aspect of changes. And we have one of the sisters from the hospital will come and talk about theology of the body, which is how beautifully we're created in the likeness and image of God, and what a gift our bodies are, right? Because it is a gift, and it should be something that's treasured. And any gift, right, that's a treasure, we have to take care of it, right? Mm-hmm. And how do we take care of that? So that it sends those messages, which is very important. And we even have usually have a board of young women, varying ages, me being the oldest, to teenagers, who share with these young girls what it was like to answer questions. Yeah, okay. What they went through, and they can ask questions, and you'd be surprised at the questions these young girls ask. And it's my younger adults or teenagers who give the best answers. I mean, just they're spot on. I'm like, gosh, I didn't look at it that way. They're so smart and so intuitive, and they are so relatable to these young girls. But yeah, young girls need to know. They need to know they're not alone, right? As our bodies are changing, it's very scary. We think something's wrong with us. I'm not doing it right. My body's not working right, when it's actually working the way it's supposed to. When young girls start to menstruate, they're not necessarily regular every month. You know, you can have one and then go a year and not have another one. It just depends upon your hormone and how you're developing. So at the beginning of development and going into puberty, our cycles can be very irregular. And just FYI, when you're going through menopause, it gets irregular again. Yeah. It comes back to you full again. Circle. Yeah. We're not regular anymore. Now what do I do? Which is another important reason why you should be charting, even until you stop menstruating. So really, you should be learning this. Now, I don't know that young girls need to go into the depth of this, but they can be taught how to monitor their cycles. Absolutely. Look for the same biomarkers, the presence of mucus. And once they see that mucus, when it goes away, they will start counting how many days until their period comes.
So they can be prepared.
Yes. Right? They're not caught unawares. I was caught unawares many times, and it's very embarrassing.
I still am.
It's like, how come I don't know this yet? I didn't have cramps. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh, you're so lucky. Well, maybe, but the flip side is I didn't know when
it's a surprise sometimes if you're not tracking.
Yeah, if you're not tracking, and I wasn't. Who tracked?
Well, and my symptoms were more moody than any physiological symptoms. Now it's back pain, instant back pain, and tired. But again, no real cramps until you're in it, right? No. Nothing, no warning. It's just emotions. A lot of emotions over here in the drama class.
So irritating.
Why do I just feel everything?
I just want people out there to know we don't control our hormones. Those hormones control us.
Yes, thank you.
And if women could control the hormones, we would control the world.
Right?
We don't control them. We can't just get over it. It's not something that we control. But it is something that can be controlled by seeing a doctor who can, test your levels at the appropriate time of your cycle, figure out where you're low, and bring you up. I mean, the Creighton Model is a natural family planning, but they do use hormones, right? They want to bring you up to health. There's nothing wrong with hormones. It's just the quantity of hormones that they give you. It's
And
to bring
quality.
You up. And quality.
Quality and quantity of
Are
hormones are important.
Yeah, they do like to use bioidentical hormones, and I will say that those work the best, but not everybody has insurance that will cover that.
Oh, interesting.
So the less expensive ones would be artificial hormones. But still, the dosage is going to be such to bring you up to health, okay, not to suppress your health. That's the whole idea. So, yeah, I think it's important for, and I also think that it's important the first time a young lady has her cycle, they should celebrate. And you know, that's a time when a mom will take her daughter out, even dad, take him out for ice cream. This is a big changing point. And
I have heard of period parties.
I would have loved, like, I always felt like it was just embarrassing. Like, you know, like that's kind of it was just like, you did it, you didn't talk about it, you got through it, and you moved on to the next thing. You just, you know, there was just, it wasn't I didn't celebrate it.
Yeah. Mine wasn't either, but I had a good friend who mentioned that, and I only have one daughter.
That's a really good idea.
And
I think it depends
one
on
girl,
the person.
one girl and 5 boys.
How would
so
they like,
she was the only girl. So yeah,
So you are a
she was
saint
like,
then.
we're celebrating that.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I worked for it.
Not like that, but how about to me? I would pull her out of school once or twice a year, and just make sure she had all the supplies she need. You know, how are things going? Do you have any questions? Because it's, you know, just one-on-one time. You know,
Just keeping that dialogue
going. Yeah, you know, what do you have? Do you need anything? You know, how are your cramps? You know, are you keeping track? Just what you would talk with your friends about. Why wouldn't we talk
Just
to
like
our
a little
daughters
girls'
that way?
day.
Yeah, just a special time. And now some young girls are starting so early. Oh, bless their little
was
hearts.
one of my questions for you, because I will say, you know, Nikki and I used to volunteer here at RiverBender with the middle school and high school kids, but we would see them younger and younger and
maturing.
come to us and ask if we had period supplies. And
which is an important thing for all girls to stock.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, be that girl who carries extra supplies in her
have
backpack.
them available. Yes.
I think that
we did. We always had a stock
A go-to
of
girl.
hair available if anybody needed them. But again, for them to feel like they could ask and that they could tell us that they needed support.
Well, I think it's exactly because it is normal, right?
Right.
And not that something's wrong and you should be embarrassed about that, but it is okay to talk about, right? If somebody fell and skinned their knee, wouldn't they go to somebody?
Right.
Right.
So
exactly.
ask for help. So this is, again, we need to normalize that a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, instead of it's your responsibility, you have to be prepared. And I still put a lot of that pressure on myself. It's my responsibility. I need to figure it out. I need to solve it. I'm not always quick to ask for help. So maybe that's just the way being wired. And then I think it would be really good to talk about the different types of period products for girls try. When do you try? What is healthy for you to have? What is a disc? What is a cup? What are all of these things? I have discovered new products that I'm like, I absolutely love this, and I can now sleep. It's great. To have these different things that work and talk about the things that do work and why they work. Wings are awesome. Love wings. Yeah. Some people don't.
Yeah. I think about women centuries ago, going off to their hut.
Oh. No, I didn't go off to my hut.
Right.
but we wore garters to hold them in place.
Right. And the safety pins, and you had to
Oh, yeah. No, it was not pretty.
I heard about them. I never went. But even still, when they're like, if you could travel back in time, what would you take with you? And I'm like, I would probably go to the 1800s and bring a tampon or something. Because they didn't have it. And I feel for them because because it frees you to let you be where you need to be because you can have a tool that works for you in that moment. Otherwise, you're just hiding in a bathroom somewhere.
Well, they just thought they were unclean, right?
Well, that's true. There was the uncleanliness.
That's not. We got to keep you guys away because that's gross.
And
is the message that came across.
Never trust anything that bleeds for 7 days and doesn't die. I've heard that one. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes
so every female and mammal on the earth.
And I've often argued, but don't I? Because it kind of feels like I die for a moment and come back.
Come back stronger.
Exactly. Like a phoenix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fun.
But I know we had been talking about, I just saw a recent tampon commercial actually, and I was like, yes, thank you. She's like a superhero, and she's got all the different tampon sizes on her belt. Yeah.
And just like, choo, choo, choo.
And she's like, what do you need? Do you need a light day? Okay. And they kind of talked about, they literally said in the commercial, if If you feel that it's coming out, you probably need to size up. Okay, if you feel that it's more difficult to remove, you probably should size down. And I was like, we're providing information here. Commercial.
Yeah.
I love this.
I know, and it's very detailed. Like, that's awesome.
And now I'm sad that I don't remember what brand it was, but I was like, good for you. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I remember, you kind of talked about the tea. I love that concept.
I think it's
just
great.
to be in an environment that's so open and free to discuss.
No judgment zone about your questions or what you're experiencing, and also the understanding that each girl's going to experience it differently. Because we all, like, even in our friend group chat, everyone was talking about the different experiences that they had.
How old they were.
None of
and
us had the same experience.
Right.
None of us did.
Absolutely. I remember in Girl Scouts, which I was in for many, many years, we had an event like that where many of the troop leaders, we brought multiple troops there, and it was, we could all ask questions and they talked about it. And of course we had heard, some things in health class in public school, but it's not enough.
Well, and it's in a setting where you're not going to learn.
Absolutely.
I mean, it literally is a boys go in this room, girls go in that room, and you just talk about how babies are born. You really don't get into our cycles and what you need, and it's very, very minimal.
Right.
And then you never talk about it again.
I don't even know what is presented in health class anymore.
I mean, I vaguely remember what I remember, and which is clearly not much, but then you never hit it again. And which, again, so I think there needs to be, like you kind of said.
It's either too early or too late. Or
And that's the thing. Well, if you haven't started, you're not paying attention because you're like, it doesn't affect me and I don't have to worry about it. And then when you start, you're like, wait, I'm in high school. I really need that class. Let's go. Like, I'm supposed to remember what I learned in 4th grade.
Like, why haven't I started? What's wrong with me?
Right.
Well,
was I too late?
Is there a reason? Well, there could be. So, I mean, it could just simply be that you're so athletic.
Yes,
that you do not have enough calories.
The Olympic gymnasts, I remember learning they don't have cycles. I'm like, wow, because they work out so hard.
It's so hard to consume enough calories to produce an egg. Now, an egg takes a lot of energy. I just want you to know that. Like, phenomenal amount of energy.
I told you that the other day. I'm like, because you made that. That's why you're so tired.
Yeah.
I wasn't really
working hard.
I even know.
And I'm like, is it hard? Like, I sometimes feel like it has gotten harder as I've gotten older.
Well, there is a NaPro doctor. I don't know if she's a NaPro doctor, but she's a fertility doctor out in California. I think her name is Dr. Chow. And she talks about women who are wanting to get pregnant. And she says 3 months before you even think about it, we need to work on nurturing your body so that you can produce a healthy egg. And she talks about the Krebs cycle and ATP, the energy that it takes to create this, and all the free radicals in the world. So she's having them take different supplements and things like this to simply prepare her body to produce a healthy egg. And she goes, the amount of energy that it takes is just incredible. And I'm like, I never really thought about that because it just kind of happens, right? But it really does. And we need to be healthy. And our environment, has some free radicals. I mean, we've got a lot of inflammation caused from free radicals in our diet and the environment. And so what do we do about that? How do we make ourselves healthy? That's one way. I mean, to start being healthy is, am I eating right? Am I getting enough exercise? Am I getting enough sleep? Those are all definitely all play into it. And I don't know where I'm going with this conversation. So
that's okay.
Well, when you track, you get that baseline, you get that understanding, and then you find out where there could be a challenge with your cycle. Right. And then you go, what's going on here? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I stressed? Where are my vitamins? Am I taking vitamins? And I think that's the cool part about this program is it gives you that baseline to go, okay, this is what this means. And maybe you're not having any challenges, but you just want to know what your body is doing. And maybe you are tired, because that's the other thing, giving yourself grace when you're tired.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Just because you're not making an egg to seek fertility, your body's still making the egg. You're still going through the exhaustion. You're still going through the process. And I think sometimes we forget that, because if you're not seeking fertility, you think you're doing the work by seeking the fertility and making the fertility happen. I'm taking the vitamins. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. The energy's in that. Now, the energy's just already being spent in the production of the egg and getting rid of it all when it's done.
Yeah.
Well, that leads a little bit to one of the questions that we had, which was, what are hormones? Why do we need them? Why do we have them? How do you measure them? You know, you mentioned that, you want them to
balanced.
be right,
Okay.
right, exactly.
So, well, hormones are chemicals within our body, right, that communicate, that control everything, really. They speak to each other. We, with the Creighton Model, primarily are, when you chart, you're basically charting your estrogen and your progesterone. But when you get your hormones tested, they're testing testosterone,
Estradiol.
androgen, your thyroid, your estrogen, your progesterone. What else?
There's a few others, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The follicle stimulating hormone. I mean, they are testing a lot, and you want to get those tested at the right time, right? So,
I had to chart. That's right. I had to chart to
because
do it.
You need to be able to interpret the results based on where you are in your cycle,
Right.
which I think
Right.
is interesting. So, most people say, well, we'll just do it on day 14 of your cycle. Well, you may not have ovulated yet on day 14 of your cycle. Only about 14% of the time do women ovulate on day 14 of their cycle. Some ovulate before, some ovulate after. And that changes what happens with your hormones, right? So we need to know where you are so we can interpret those hormones to see if you're normal or not.
And when you go get your blood work, your annual blood work, they always, and sometimes they'll test some things and they're like, when was the last day of your period? Or when was the first day of your last period? And you're like, what does that even tell you? Like, why are you asking me that? And so,
well, that's just the standard that they figure, you have 28 cycles, you're going to ovulate on day.
And so it doesn't.
It doesn't always. I mean,
Right.
there's a fluctuation as to you don't ovulate on the same day every
It's
day.
too standardized.
If it did, natural family planning would work great.
or are you just trying to
The
find out if
calendar
I'm
method.
pregnant or not? And did I have my period?
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah, it's like-
are you really seeking to see where my blood work is in that cycle? Or are you just trying to find out if I'm pregnant and we need to do a pregnancy test before you do
Right.
blood work?
Right. That's a good question. So based on where you are, so they will do certain tests. And they look at it differently. If you're a married couple who are trying to achieve pregnancy and having difficulty, they'll do a series of hormones. Okay. But if you're having issues with your cycle, you're a single woman not achieving pregnancy, they may just do hormone studies on day 7. Post-peak day 7, right? Get a good round just to see what that's happening.
A baseline.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Very
to see what that is, and they can interpret that information. Now, that's a NaPro doctor who looks at that. And then they can treat you based on that. So, but as you chart, so as I mentioned, my job is just to teach people how to chart. We look at the chart, we find our peak day, which is not actually the day that you ovulated, but it's near, right? There's a window. Statistically, a woman will ovulate up to 3 days before her peak day or 3 days after her peak day. So that's a 7-day window of when she's fertile, of when she might ovulate. She's actually fertile. It's always gets this little trick like, wait, when am I fertile? Whenever you have that mucus. That mucus tells you you're fertile. And how do we interpret that, So my job is to teach people that. And then if there's something that I see in a cycle, like if I see that before your first heavy or moderate day of your menstrual period, you start just spotting for a few days, well, that's usually an indication you don't have enough progesterone.
Oh.
And interesting enough, some of those women also have PMS problems. Oh, really? Well, maybe it's because you don't have enough progesterone, right? You drop so abruptly that, instead of having this nice little bell curve, you just go, your peak, and then you just drop. Imagine what that does with you. Your hormones just leave you, and you flounder, basically.
Empty.
Yeah, you are empty. You are empty.
That was my
and
walk.
it makes you ugly.
And it was
you might
awful
have some,
and hard.
Yeah, you have PMS. You're grumpy, you cry, you're craving things, you're trying to replace it. You're like, I don't know what's going on with me. And really, it's just a hormone thing. So can we treat that? Can we make sure that you're balanced? And wouldn't it be nice if we were all balanced all the time? And most of us aren't perfectly balanced, obviously, but we get by.
We can try.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And if you were willing to chart and understand your cycle, you could tell what I loved about it is if I taught you how to do that and you leave me, like you did.
Like I did. I graduated.
But hopefully she's still charted because she should be able to look at her chart and say, ooh, there's a change here.
Right.
I need to go talk to somebody. And then she goes back to the doctor that she came to. She's like, hey, there's a change here. I'm not sure what this means. Can you see me? And find out what it is. Because it may be hormonal. And as you mentioned, it could be something worse too, right?
Yeah.
In today's time, there's lots of cancers and things like that. So
Absolutely.
wouldn't you want to know?
I wondered if there was,
Or is it a
imagine.
polyp? Or is it, unusual bleeding is not always cancerous. It's not the end thing.
But your brain goes there when you don't know the answer. So you're like, worst case scenario.
So why are you worried? And then that stress adds to the extra cycle.
In a lot of medicine too, I feel like you eliminate, the worst case scenario first and work backwards.
Well, and then also if you're struggling with not having enough progesterone, you're already kind of in a depressive state. And then you see something that's not right, you go straight to doom and gloom because you're already doom and gloom. Yeah. You're like, this is
my
sadness.
world is over. No, it's not.
Cry.
No. You just need to breathe.
Yeah. Take my time.
Yeah, take my time and think. Let's recess.
And chart and take it to the professional.
Take it to the professional. They'll get you what you need to have done.
And what was so great for me, too, about this program, the nuns gifted the program.
They did.
Let us talk about it because that made it easier for me and less. Also, when you think about putting money towards a program,
right?
Any type of health, allergy shots, you're making a financial commitment.
Right.
And just to compare it to allergy shots, that was $75 a week for a year or more that you are now committing to help yourself with something like allergy shots. Ballpark figure, speaking from personal experience. That's a commitment.
Yeah.
And you never know in your financial situations if that's a commitment you can afford when you have other bills. And okay, so now, we've got fertility while I'm not seeking a child and I'm single. Maybe I don't want to spend a ton of money just to find out I'm fine. It's just a little issue. But what's so great is with this program, the nuns gifted it.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful because that made it less intimidating, for one, because now there isn't the financial strain. Mm-hmm. And I can learn about my body and understand what's really going on, and then went to a place where healthcare covered my needs. So I think that I don't think I would have been able to do that without the help of the nuns.
Accessibility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So So when I first started doing this here at Alton, we didn't have this here.
Microphones. Tap.
Yeah, I know. I just did that. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to keep my hands to myself.
Too.
So St. Anthony's is a Catholic hospital. I'm also Catholic, and the sanctity of life, very life affirming. And natural family planning is what we're instructed and should desire to use in our married life, right? Be open to life. But back, I'm going to take you on a history lesson.
Let's go.
Back in the early 60s, late 60s, early 70s. No, it had to be in the 60s when the birth control pill was being...
First came to market.
First came to market, right. Pope John Paul. Pope Paul VI, not John Paul. Pope Paul VI was the Pope at that time, and he was opposed to the birth control pill. He predicted that this was going to increase infidelity in marriages. It would lead to divorce, and children would no longer be cherished. He says... But families do need to have something that are couples so that they can control their family size to what they prayerfully consider that they can handle or desire, right? So he made a plea to doctors, lay people, scientists, other priests. We got to come up with something. And Dr. Hilgers, the guy who's created the Creighton Model, answered that call. Okay, he felt called to do this. And so the Creighton Model is based on the Billings method. It's a method of natural family planning. And he was just doing it to help women and couples understand their fertility. And so based on this information, you can tell when you're fertile or when you're not fertile. Okay. And as consenting adults, a married couple, together decide, is this the right time to bring life into the world or is it not? So it's not a method of birth control. It's really a method of selective intercourse. Together, you guys make a decision. And days of fertility, you may desiring intercourse very much. However, if this is not the right time to bring a child into the world, right? You may need somebody to remind you. It's a consideration, right? Because having intercourse, you should expect to get pregnant. All right. And then when you are not fertile, if you lovingly, prayerfully desire to have intercourse, by all means, there are certain times of the day and things like there's a little fine tuning that goes into it. It's not quite that simplistic, but it basically is truly that, just to know when you're fertile, when you're not fertile, the pre-peak phase before you've ovulated. And of course, there's always at the end of the day, because you got to make sure there's no mucus on that day. Got to make sure that you're dry. Post-peak phase, once you've ovulated, you're not going to ovulate again until the next cycle. So guess what? Intercourse can be any time of day, right? After the 4th day. Little rules. Wow. I love it as we introduce it. It's very intricate. We start off with very simple rules to send you home with, and then each week or each 2 weeks you come back, we add a little bit more information to it. I always felt like it was like...
you don't feel overwhelmed with...
Yeah, it can be very overwhelming to learn it all in one setting. And because of that, we work very closely with our clients. Right. We do an introductory session, and then for the next 4 meetings are 2 weeks apart, which is intense. And then if you're charting well, we push you off to 4 weeks. And if you're still charting well, we push you off to every 3 months. So unless you need us more. And sometimes we have those clients that do need a little bit more assistance. Right. And it's just education that we're giving. So that's why there's the Creighton Model. So why does that tie into sisters? Well, for years, we had an OB department. They wanted to offer something to our patients besides the birth control pill. Right, and the hospital didn't prescribe birth control pills. Right, doctors weren't allowed to prescribe them there.
Catholic,
right. Doesn't mean that women were not being prescribed.
Obtainable,
yes. Just couldn't why they were there, and it was truly their heart. They're like, they know this isn't good for women. Now, if you come forward from Pope Paul VI until current times, did he call it right? Was there more infidelity? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was there a greater increase in divorce? Yeah. Do we value children? I mean, look at our abortion rates in the world. They're astronomical.
There's 1,000 kids, I believe, in the Alton School District that are homeless or living homeless. We've had 8,000 in the foster care system. There are children
that are just
needing love and caring, and where's the value?
Right. And they need to be valued.
Mm-hmm.
Every child,
they're all miracles.
They are without a doubt. I mean, if you realize what it takes to create a human being, a miracle. But he called it right. You know, he could foresee that, and he was right. So how do we get back to value? How do we get back to valuing life again? You know, without destroying more life. Mm. And the natural family planning is a great way. I mean, sometimes I guess some people think, well, no, I want to have sex whenever I want to have sex. Who are you to tell me not to have sex? Well, first of all, I'm not at your house. I'm not telling you anything. Right? That's a decision for you and your spouse to make. And to really talk about it, you know, is this the right time to bring somebody a new life? You know, I've had clients who emotionally could not have it. I mean, like the wife was like, I've got 2, I can't do anymore.
I'm maxed.
Yeah.
At my limit.
Yeah. And that's if she's perfectly
emotionally, and if they feel like they don't have support. And
the husband would have wanted more, but he loved his wife, and if she couldn't handle more, he was fine with that. So, but within their faith, they didn't want to surgically do anything, right? So they just continued to monitor, and they utilized days. You know, it makes you talk a lot more with your spouse. Right. I mean, because you have as you should, but do we?
Right.
I know I don't as well as I should, you know. But that chart becomes a focus of conversation, you know. And today, I don't know if all the practitioners do this or not. When a woman comes to me and is learning to chart, there's a lot, you know, there's places you have to make the observations, you have to put your descriptions down, you have to put your stamp on there, and you have to do a lot of work with it. And she's doing it all.
It takes effort.
It does. But you know what? Your husband, I bet you he could put the stamps on for you.
Right.
And if he can put them on accurately, you tell him what you observed and see if he can figure out what this description is.
Is that an example of...
This is an example of the chart. You can see the red means...
menstrual period.
I don't know if people can hear me, but...
Tom, the red means menstrual period. The green are days in which there is no mucus or days of infertility. The stamps with the babies on them, well, obviously those mean you're fertile, right? Days, and then it should go back to dry days at the end of after you ovulate. There's a period of time after you ovulate that you're still considered fertile for 3 days, right?
I know we had talked about too that sperm can live outside of the male body.
Yeah. Well, with good mucus, for 3 to 5 days.
3 to 5 days. Wow.
Yeah. If you have good, and it's important for the sperm to survive that long.
There's a reason.
Because the egg is only viable for up to 24 hours, like somewhere between 12 to 24 hours, and usually close to the 12-hour mark. If our existence depended on that fact alone, most of us wouldn't be here. But it's because of that cervical mucus that allows the sperm to survive, be at the end of the fallopian tube. The mucus creates a medium for which the sperm can swim, like literally swimming channels.
Right.
And it insulates the sperm so our body temperature doesn't destroy it. Okay, so they all have to be at the end of the fallopian tube waiting for that egg to come. And when that egg comes, they surround it. Right. And they work hard.
Yes.
Right?
And then the egg's like, not you. Not you.
Maybe.
Maybe. Oh, nope, definitely you. And then boom, that one wins. And it really, from the stuff that I've read and learned, that the egg actually opens up when the right one.
Really?
That's the new that's the new.
I have not heard
There's
that.
so much new. I've been following some fertility sites.
Interesting.
And they're finding, because they started with the spark. So they could see when life happens, it actually does create an electric spark, which I find phenomenal when you think about the soul and how they've weighed the soul when it leaves the body. And now there's like a spark. So people are like, is that when the soul enters? Who knows?
That's when God enters the creation of life. Right?
There it is.
The moment that life is
the
created is that spark.
So when they did that, they started noticing that there's all of these little guys around the egg, but the egg, they're not breaking in like a fortress. They're as they're observing an egg and a sperm, right? It's not that the egg breaks in, or the sperm breaks in. It's like, I've conquered you, blah. They literally see where the egg just opens when the right. So it might be a chemical. They're not entirely sure.
Well, it is when you think about
it's not always the best swimmer, according to the data that I've found. And I'll try to go back and find the post where I found that. But they've also started studying, and this is to a period product, women's period blood. And they have found that there are stem cells in there. There's all these healthy cells that
makes sense because it's coming from
can actually treat cancer. Well, they're looking at the possibilities. Grow a heart.
Yes, they're trying to grow
a heart. Like now, wherever you are on that realm of things. But they are still they do take that out of bone marrow and things.
Well, I remember with my kids, the blood,
the tube cord or the
cord blood. I think,
yes.
And now even the placenta.
Yes.
They are using that to, even within some of the surgeries they do, they will surround, it prevents the scar tissue. Even for women's health, like when they have,
cesarean section?
No, I'm thinking more about endometriosis and things like that.
Yes,
how to protect that area again. So they're doing a lot of fascinating
And they
things.
found that even in, supposedly to this women's health article that I will have to post, so we have some cited resources. It's not just coming from my imagination, that they can tell by any genetic disorders just by our period blood.
Ooh.
Or possible issues in the future. And it all started because a scientist was trying to find why pads don't absorb our period blood, and we have all these pads that doesn't really do what we need it to do, and it seems to just go everywhere anywhere, and it's because they were testing it with water, but our cycle is not water, it's different.
It's a little bit more viscous,
and so
maybe,
they started studying that in order to make a more absorbent pad. And then they're like, well, what is this stuff anyway? When you think of it, you think it's like dead old junky stuff because it's coming from the uterus lining, but it is healthy tissue because your body's just done with it.
Right.
So it's easy to think like it's,
right, because if implantation took place.
Yeah.
Right,
it would all stay in there.
It would all stay.
Be utilized,
well,
right?
I don't. That's a good question. What happens to it? I mean, until that placenta takes over.
Is it still healthy, or does it die and slough off?
Well, no, because we don't bleed when you're pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
So
what does starting to questions.
It's so exciting. So
speaking of questions.
Yes.
Nikki anticipated we were going to need a part 2.
We definitely were, and we.
Oh my gosh!
So we have
barely started.
We have. We're going to take a break here.
We'll take a quick
one
break.
More commercial, and we will be back with the rest of this episode next week. So hang tight.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Wait,
Thank you, Shannon.
We forgot
Vitale.
to do the gift.
We can do that
After our commercial break?
Yes, absolutely.
We'll do a quick commercial break because we still got to pay the bills, and then we'll be right back because we have one surprise for Shannon.
Okay.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
At Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu, we help students of all ages build confidence, discipline, and real-world strength. Join a supportive community that challenges you to grow both on and off the mat. Experience the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a 7-day free trial at our new location. Call 618-795-2692 or visit altonelite.com to start your journey today. Train hard, serve others, live elite at Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu. When you need a project done right, on budget, and on time, trust Gillahan Concrete. Gillahan handles every kind of project, big and small. Commercial, industrial, residential, from room additions and garages to patios, driveways, and more. Gillahan brings quality and experience to every job. Family owned with over 30 years of service to our community. Call today at 618-781-3914 or visit GillahanConcrete.com.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you.